All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here for class today for our Wellbeing Connection class. My name is Charlotte Scheid. I'm one of the Giant Company dietitians. I appreciate everybody being here. So for our Wellbeing Connection class series for this month, we are going to be focusing all on protein, which is of course an important food group. So we'll be discussing all about that today, reviewing some products and some recipes. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing I want to do, since we're talking about protein, I would love to hear from all of you if you feel that you eat enough protein throughout the day. So let me go ahead and pull up this poll and you can go ahead and answer it. So again, the question is, do you eat enough protein throughout the day? So maybe you are keeping track and you already know that you do, maybe you don't, or maybe you are not keeping track and you have no idea. So give everybody a couple seconds to answer that question. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results. All right, so it looks like a lot of you are eating enough protein throughout the day. I shouldn't say it's half and half, but a lot of you are, still some of you are not, and then some of you do not know at all. So hopefully today we can review protein, and especially if you are not getting in protein throughout the day or you don't know, we'll be talking all about some ways on how to do so. So thanks everybody for answering our poll question of the day. All right, so we know that protein is a very important part of a balanced diet. I'm sure all of you already know that. In the next slide, we'll review the My Plate to kind of show what should be a part of a balanced diet. But protein is one of those important pieces to a balanced diet. But when we think about protein, we don't have to make it complicated at all. Pretty much is the reason for this class for today. We just want to make it convenient. We want to make it simple, balanced, and convenient. We're going to talk a little bit about why protein matters, especially if you are not incorporating protein throughout the day. We'll give you some reasons on why you should. So protein, of course, is an important part. We're going to be reviewing some protein-packed products and then just some quick meal and snack recipe ideas, which is from our Savory magazine. Or I should say some of my favorite quick meal and snack recipe ideas. All right, so why does protein matter? So I'm sure all of you, especially if you've been attending a lot of our classes, you have already seen the My Plate, which is a visual representation of the different food groups that we should be having throughout the day. Or I should say not throughout the day, so the different food groups that you should be having at each meal. So we want a quarter, so of course half of our plate being fruits and vegetables, quarter being grains, and then you can see a quarter being protein, because again, helps to create that balanced plate. So why protein matters? Well, first, it helps to build and repair body tissue. It helps to build and repair muscles, skin, hair, and even internal organs. And it's definitely important after exercise and injury, because when we are doing a lot of activity, kind of puts a strain on our muscles and they need to heal. So protein is a really important part for that reason. Helps with support, muscle growth and strength, especially as we get older. This is very important. It helps to build lean muscle mass and helps to reduce muscle loss as well, especially if we are, older females or just older in general. Helps with that. Helps so that you do not have as much muscle loss. Also helps to keep us full and energized and helps us to maintain a healthy weight. This is because protein, kind of in combination with fiber, but protein helps us to feel fuller longer. So we're not, having blood sugar spikes, ups and downs, and we feel hungry. So helps with that weight maintenance and weight management. And I think I just mentioned about blood sugar balance, but also helps to, so we don't have the blood sugar spikes and then dips, which makes us feel irritable and then hungry. So helps with that blood sugar balance. Also, especially since we're getting into somewhat like germ season, sick season, it's really beneficial for immune support. So proteins actually help to form antibodies that help the body fight off infections and illnesses. So especially this time of year with all the germs going around, illnesses, we definitely want protein for immune support. Also, protein is very important for enzyme and hormone production. So enzymes and hormones actually control many body functions. So things like digestion, metabolism, and mood. So those enzymes and hormones are made from protein. So you can see here, there's a lot of different reasons to incorporate protein. So we always want to make sure when we think about protein, we want about a quarter of our plate to be protein at each meal. And of course, with snacks too, we always want to incorporate protein, but for meals, think a quarter of our plate. So protein recommendations. So everybody is a little bit different for how much protein that you do need. So your protein needs really depend, on your weight, age, sex, health condition, and activity level. But a general recommendation. So this recommendation is kind of just for somebody that has no health conditions. They're, pretty sedentary. They're not really exercising a whole lot, but it's 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So for instance, if you're 150 pounds, you're going to divide that by 2.2, which gives you your kilograms, so 68.2, and multiplying that by 0.8 grams of protein. So this would be around 54.5 grams of protein per day. So that's kind of a general recommendation. So again, but that's for a person who does not have any health conditions, is really not exercising a whole lot, and is not really an older adult either, just kind of your average person. But something important to keep in mind with protein is that protein needs may need to be increased depending on a variety of different things. So for growth and development, especially if you are pregnant or even in children, because they're growing and developing pretty rapidly, but especially in pregnancy, your protein needs may increase. If you're an athlete, if you're using your muscles a lot, you're burning a lot of calories. But with athletes, they really need protein for muscle repair and recovery. We have mentioned about older adults. So older adults and protein, we really need protein to help preserve that muscle mass, which can be, decreased as we get older. If we are in the hospital or if we're experiencing illness or injury, especially surgery recovery, we definitely need protein to help our tissues heal so we can get better. And then with chronic disease too, protein is needed just with general healing. So again, with protein, it can vary with how much that you need. So weight, age, sex, health condition, and activity level. But again, that general recommendation is listed right there. And protein needs, of course, may need to be increased depending on different types of situations. All right, so the nice thing about protein, there's a lot of different options, especially if you don't like a certain type of protein, there's ways to, get protein in, I guess what I'm trying to say. So our animal-based protein, so things like meat, so beef, pork, and lamb, poultry, chicken and turkey, eggs are a good one, dairy, so milk, cheese, and yogurt, and then fish and seafood, which helps us to get those healthy fats that we need. So things like salmon, tuna, and shrimp. And I'll be going over some products too in a couple slides on different options. But what's nice about animal-based protein is that it provides all 9 essential amino acids that the body needs. So essential amino acid means that these type of proteins must come from the diet and the body does not produce them itself. Another thing about animal-based proteins is that it has a variety of other nutrients in it. So things like iron, vitamin B12, which is important for energy production. And also calcium, which comes from dairy, and then omega-3s, which is in that fish and seafood, is really important fat, really important for our brain health and heart health. But when we are thinking about meat and poultry, we want to choose lean meats. So a leaner cut of meat or a leaner cut of beef, chicken without the skin on it, just kind of leaner cuts. And also when we're talking about dairy, we want to choose low fat options because this is going to have a lot of less saturated fat, so the fat that we do not want as much of. All right, and then we have plant-based protein. I will say personally, I really like plant-based protein, especially quinoa. I seem to eat a lot of, and especially in the winter season with legumes like beans, with stews, chilies, beans are a lot more popular this time of year. So with plant-based protein, what's nice about it, which kind of separates it a little bit from the animal-based, is that it has a lot more fiber in it, which has a variety of other different benefits, which one of them being it's beneficial for heart health. So with plant-based protein, of course, quinoa, like I mentioned, so it is so the nice thing about quinoa is that it's a whole grain, but also it is a complete protein, which our plant-based proteins are not all complete proteins, but quinoa is, which makes it nice, especially if you are going more towards like a vegetarian diet and you don't want as much meat, but still want complete protein. Quinoa is something that you can incorporate. So also we have legumes, like I mentioned, so beans, peas, and lentils, which have really great fiber in it and protein. So beans like black, kidney, pinto, navy, great northern beans. Peas can be split peas, black-eyed peas, which are always good. And then lentils, green, brown, red, which always go really well in different types of like grain bowls, soups, that type of thing. Also nuts, so almonds, walnuts, pecans, and pistachios are really good. Seeds like pumpkins, sunflower, chia seeds, and then our soybean products like tofu, tempeh, and then edamame is always good too. So these are our plant-based protein options. So you can see here between the animal-based, plant-based, there's a lot of variety to choose from. So especially if you don't think that you're getting a lot of protein in your diet, these are just some foods to kind of help you think outside the box if you think you're just kind of sort of eating the same thing over and over again. So let's review some products in store to kind of get some ideas. Especially when we're thinking about convenience and if we're always busy and we're don't feel like we have enough time to kind of think about protein and ways to incorporate it. These are some kind of quick options to do so. So the first one is our Nature's Promise hard cooked peeled eggs. I will say that this is something that I definitely purchase weekly just because it's very easy, especially in the morning. If you don't feel like you have a lot of time, you can really just pick these out of the bag and eat them if you want to, or even like for lunch, you can make a quick egg salad. There's a variety of different ways to incorporate them, but it's nice because it saves you time. You don't have to boil them, cool them down, and package them up. So one egg is about 6 grams of protein. Our next one is hummus. So in store, we have a variety of different hummus options. So one of my favorites is a spinach artichoke hummus. So this kind of makes for a nice addition to kind of different meals. So 2 tablespoons is 2 grams, but you can always pair that with some other stuff. So it's kind of like a little bit of a, not a really high source of protein, but kind of gives a nice little protein boost to maybe some other meals. So we have the spinach artichoke, garlic, red pepper hummus, let's see, Mediterranean, a variety of different flavors to choose from. So hummus is always a good one. This makes for a really nice snack option. We also have some shelled edamame. I don't know if anybody has incorporated edamame into their diet, but I always like edamame as a snack or you put on top of a salad. But mostly I just like to put, or just like eat edamame by itself and kind of like just put a sprinkle of salt on, or you can do, whatever kind of different flavorings. But shelled edamame is a good one. And actually 2/3 of a cup gives you 10 grams of protein. And what's nice, since it's a plant-based protein, it gives you 4 grams of fiber. So definitely for a snack, that kind of protein fiber combination helps to balance that blood sugar and helps you to feel fuller longer. Next, we have our Atlantic salmon portions. So these portions come in 4-ounce portions. So one salmon fillet is 23 grams of protein. So you can see that's a really nice option, especially if you're making a sheet pan meal, and they're individually packaged. So if you're 1 or 2 people in your home and you don't need like a huge amount of salmon, you can pull them out as you need them. But that's another nice option to, try to incorporate protein either for lunch, dinner, but especially for sheet pan meals or foil packet meals. Those are nice options. Then the next one is our Nature's Promise albacore tuna. So of course, these tuna pouches are really nice if you want to just pull them out as you need them and you can store them in the pantry. They last for a long time, but one pouch has about 18 grams of protein. And it's really, you really don't need a whole lot to get that protein amount, but I always like the Nature's Promise tuna or just tuna in general, just because you can keep it in the pantry for a long time and pull it out as you need them. So these are some options for our protein products to help get you thinking. And here's some more. So of course we have a variety of different can options for beans. And if you're, worried about sodium, salt, that type of thing, we have a lot of no salt, low sodium options. But of course, if you get the canned beans, you can always rinse them and it takes about 40% of the sodium away. But for our chickpeas, so I always like chickpeas in salads, grain bowls. There's a lot of different recipes too now where you can kind of puree them and make them into like little like energy bites. There's a lot of different ways to do chickpeas. They have a really nice bland flavor. So they great in a variety of different recipes, either like savory or sweet. But for half cup is about 7 grams of proteins, and then because it's plant-based, 7 grams of fiber. So things like chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, those types of things are really nice protein option and can be quick too. And you can always like drain it, rinse it, put it in an airtight container, and kind of pull it out as you need it for a variety of different recipes, which is nice. We also have cottage cheese, which seems to be very popular in a variety of different ways, whether that be smoothies or even, and I've seen it in pancake batter to kind of, boost the protein, or I think even people are putting it, kind of pureeing it, pureeing it, mixing it with eggs, to even, and then like making scrambled eggs with it to even like boost the protein in that as well. But for half cup gives you 12 grams of protein. Next is our Greek non-fat yogurt. We have plain and then vanilla, but 3/4 of a cup is 15 grams. So that Greek, the way it's processed, definitely has more protein in it. I always like using our protein peanut butter and chocolate chip bars, kind of keeping them in my purse or car. I just went on vacation. The other weekend I definitely had these along just because they're very easy. They're just, yeah, just easy, especially on the go. But these, one bar gives you 10 grams of protein and then 6 grams of fiber. So a really nice snack option for on the go, in this busy world. And then next, I will say for our rotisserie chicken, I know for our family especially, we use this in a variety of different ways. Either on, we kind of like shred it up, put it on top of pizza, or just do it as like a side dish. And I like rotisserie chicken too, because you can shred it, use it for a meal, but then you can use it for the next day and it lasts for a long time. And especially in the store, you can either purchase this cold, it can be warm, you can already have it pre-shredded in store. I would definitely like rotisserie chicken, just a nice option for, especially when you are on the go and it's very convenient to have in store and just purchase it. But for 3 ounces, which is usually about like the size of your palm, so not a whole lot, but gives you 21 grams of protein. So especially if you don't feel like you can, eat a whole lot or whatnot, you don't need a whole lot to get a lot of grams of protein, which is nice. But I definitely like a rotisserie chicken option. It's definitely, very convenient option. So these are some other products that are really nice. And then lastly, here's some more. So we have in store, we have Vienna chickpea snacks. So this comes in sea salt, we have the honey ones, and then I believe ranch, and I think it's some other flavors as well. But I always like these chickpea snacks on top of a salad, especially if you like croutons and you're looking for something crunchy. This is kind of a nice swap out. But for 1 ounce, which is usually about, I think, like 2 tablespoons or whatnot, not too much, but gives you 6 grams of protein and then 6 grams of fiber. But I definitely like these chickpea snacks, and they're really good for on the go as well. And of course, I know in our house, we're always purchasing these string or mozzarella string cheese. What am I trying to say? String cheeses for my daughters. Really good for kids too, especially since there have a lot of rapid growth and development. Always good for on the go. So one stick is 7 grams of protein. Then we talked a little bit about quinoa being a plant-based option that is a complete protein and then whole grain. So 1/4 of a cup gives you 5 grams and then 3 grams of fiber as well. But I always like quinoa in grain bowls, really. But there's a variety of different ways to use quinoa. So quinoa is another good option. We have our omega-3 deluxe trail mix, which is really good for a snack. So about for a 1/4 cup gives you 4 grams of protein, 2 grams of fiber, and always good for on the go. And then the chomp sticks. I don't know if anybody has seen those in stores. So one stick is 10 grams of protein. So you can see there's a variety of different protein products that are really good for on the go and are convenient. We don't have time to think about it too much. So one thing I wanted to mention too, so we went over why protein is important, some different protein products, but just wanted to also give you some tips for busy lifestyles. When we're thinking about protein, especially for those of you who said that you don't feel like you eat enough protein just in general, just try to keep in mind that always have protein at each meal and snack. That will help you to, get it throughout the day. I think it's easy too with snacks. Sometimes we're just kind of I don't know, maybe eating like pretzels or some type of carbohydrate food, but definitely try to pair it with some type of protein that will help you get the protein that you need throughout the day. Another thing, especially for, busy lifestyles, we just want to plan ahead with easy to go options. If we can plan ahead, think about it at the beginning of the week, have it on hand. It's, within reach, easy to grab. It's more easy to incorporate that protein. And also you can boost your favorite meals with boost favorite meals that you already eat. So for instance, if you're eating oatmeal just by itself, just stir in a little peanut butter into that to boost the protein. Or if you're already having soups, sandwiches, or salad, just add some beans, add some of those roasted chickpeas on there. For sandwiches, what I mean by beans, sometimes you can make, bean spreads. So instead of putting mayonnaise onto a sandwich, you can always do like a bean spread, just to add a little bit more of that protein. You can sprinkle seeds or nuts over yogurt, cereal, or a salad. And then, like I mentioned before, cottage cheese is becoming very popular, or it is popular right now, but you can put that into smoothies, muffin or pancake mix. I mentioned about eggs. If you want to, some people who are scrambling eggs, they mix in some cottage cheese to even boost the protein a little bit more. So if you have a favorite meal that you already are eating all the time, just think about ways maybe to boost that meal with some protein. All right, so these are some quick meal and snack ideas. So these recipes come from our Savory magazine, which you can always view online on the website, which is really nice to have a wonderful recipe database. All right, so it is the season for fall, which I'm super excited about. Like with the cooler weather and everything, it definitely feels like fall. But this is a pumpkin spice smoothie, which I have made multiple times. It's so delicious. Does get 3 guiding stars, which guiding stars is our nutritional navigation program that can be found on recipes or products in stores. So the more stars that something has, the more nutritionally beneficial it is. So it can either get 1, 2, or 3 stars, and this one gets 3. So a lot of great nutrition with this one. It has almost 17 grams of protein and then almost 6 grams of fiber. So for this one, the protein would be coming from that Greek non-fat vanilla yogurt. I'm going to be adding in some pumpkin puree, some oats, which will give us a little bit of a boost of fiber, and then banana, milk, vanilla extract, and then some pumpkin pie spice. But this is really great for this time of year. Helps you to feel like fall, but helps you to also meet your protein needs as well. So really good source of protein. So this makes for, a nice snack kind of midday at 3 p.m. when your blood sugar feels like it's, dipping a little bit and you get tired. This will help to, maintain that energy. So the next one, which I think I've mentioned in some other classes, this is such a super simple, very simple. I don't even know if I would call it a recipe. It's more like I don't know, just kind of building it. Excuse me. So this one incorporates cottage cheese, some rice cakes, or you can even do, some toast, and then you're going to top it with some everything bagel seasoning. So the rice cake, some cottage cheese, and then everything bagel seasoning, which has sesame seeds, some garlic. I'm trying to think of some other ones as well. But this is super delicious. I've also made this multiple times just because it's so easy. I don't have any time to, if I don't have time to think about a snack, this is kind of my go-to, but it has 8 grams of protein. It does have some fiber as well. So that's another one. It does get 1 guiding star. And this is a Caesar quinoa bowl, which is also when you are busy on the go. It's just not very many ingredients, but a lot of great flavor. But it gets 2 guiding stars, 17 grams of protein, and 4 grams of fiber. So this is a 1.5 cups of quinoa. And one thing too with quinoa, you can always make it in bulk ahead of time, put it in the refrigerator, and then take it out as you need it throughout the week. So you can, it's already made for you, which is nice. So this has some tomatoes, some avocado, some hard cooked eggs. So you're getting protein from the quinoa and those hard cooked eggs. You can put a little bit of Caesar dressing on, Dijon mustard, and then spinach as well. But this is another nice one for lunch, but especially if you make the quinoa ahead of time and you can already use those Nature's Promise hard cooked eggs that are already made for you. Makes it really quick and convenient. So that's another one for lunch. You could even have it for dinner. This is a tuna and white bean salad. So if you're looking for more of a plant-based, option, this one has cannellini beans in it, some red onion, tuna, which gives you that protein. So tuna and the cannellini beans will give the protein, some fire roasted red peppers for some flavor, lemon, and they could do a spring mix lettuce. You could do spinach, whatever you'd like. But this one has 15 grams of protein, and you could always make this one, the actual salad, at the beginning of the week and just keep it in the refrigerator and then pull it out as you need it. But gets 2 guiding stars. And we had mentioned about the salmon and those pre-cut, portions, the individual size portion, salmon. This would be really good for this recipe for sheet pan. So this is a sheet pan teriyaki glazed salmon with veggies. I will say on our savory website, we have a lot of great sheet pan salmon recipes. If you want to look there, but this is one that I always like, the teriyaki glazed salmon. But this just has some kale greens, broccoli, teriyaki sauce, and that Atlantic salmon. So this has 30 grams of protein and 6 grams of fiber. So this would be a really nice dinner meal and a really quick dinner meal that is convenient to try to get protein in throughout the day. So just giving you some, recipe ideas, just trying to think outside the box a little bit. But again, this one gets 30 grams of protein, which is really nice. All right. So hopefully you learned a little bit about protein. So just in summary, so obviously, throughout the presentation, we have hopefully have made it aware that protein is an important part of a balanced diet. We always want to make sure that we are incorporating it throughout the day in meals and snacks, but we want to keep it simple, balanced, and convenient. Some of those product options hopefully will do that for you, to make it convenient, to ensure that we're getting it in our diet. And we want to remember to incorporate a variety of different proteins to get all the essential nutrients that we need. So whether that be animal-based, so Greek yogurt, cheese sticks, those hard-boiled eggs, tuna pouches, rotisserie chicken, like I said before, one of my favorites, or plant-based, so things like hummus, edamame, nuts, beans, tofu, roasted chickpeas, a variety of different options, but trying to incorporate a variety of different proteins because they just have a little bit of different nutrients in them, whether that be iron, vitamin B12, fiber, those types of things. So again, kind of reviewing some tips. We want to include protein with each meal and snack to help ensure that we, get the protein that we need throughout the day. Planning ahead is so important, which goes along with meal prep and all that kind of stuff. If we're able to prep it ahead of time, normally we're able to, make sure that we incorporate it, when we want. And also to boost, again, your favorite meals and snacks with protein foods, which can be a really easy way. Like, for instance, I always like scrambled eggs. Just mixing it in with a little bit of cottage cheese helps to boost that meal. All right. So one thing I wanted to do, especially with Wellbeing Connection and then this protein series, I just want to mention the other upcoming class, which will be with Joni, which she'll be going over even more the importance of protein for everyday energy, and she's going to be discussing the organic meat company. All right, and I appreciate everybody paying attention, today, and let me go to Q&A.